Two, three, boom. Yes, so Hairless here. Today we have our most requested Christmas song by a long way, Pentatonix's Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy from 2014. Absolutely iconic piece of music from Tchaikovsky's The Nutcracker. The original choreographer for this dance wanted the music to sound like drops of water shooting out of a fountain, so Tchaikovsky set out to find a suitable instrument to create such a sound. There was a story that Tchaikovsky originally wanted this to be played on the glass harmonica, which was an instrument created by Benjamin Franklin. Very eerie sound, isn't it? It's basically bowls of glass spinning around and the player dips their hands in water and rubs the bowls. You know, if you have like a wine glass and it creates that sound when you rub it. It's an interesting instrument. It was believed that it would actually cause madness. Anyway, whether that story is true or not, what we do know for certain is that Tchaikovsky heard a different instrument called the celesta. I won't try and put into words how it sounds, you can decide for yourself how that makes you feel, but what we can agree on, I'm sure, is that there's something different about it. It's almost otherworldly. So, Pentatonix's arrangement won them their second Grammy. I'm excited for this one, it's been recommended to me so much, so without further ado, let's get straight into it. Yeah, this is this is very, very cool. I loved this piece growing up, so I'm finding this very, very cool. I've noticed it is actually really short. We're already halfway through, so it's probably best to just continue straight to the end, and then we can just go over the analysis afterwards. Let's carry on from just before that Mitch moment. Nice chords. Oh, it's too short. I wanted more. Yeah, we're going to go back and discuss the music. There's so much to talk about. The video, though, so cool. It's so similar to God Rest You Merry Gentlemen, but this came 2 years before that. I think it's always interesting choosing having black background and black outfits. It's a stylistic choice that says don't focus on anything visual, focus on the music. And weirdly, the visuals are so captivating. Obviously, one, due to the editing, but two, there's basically no choreography. They're just standing still pretty much, or like occasionally looking in other directions, but it's still so captivating to watch. We're there staring at them. Crazy. Right, so first thing is right from the off, I feel like we're just captivated, and there are several things there. It's almost like a bit of a sensory overload immediately. Number one is Kevin's beat. To me, I'm thinking of a ticking clock. Time's running out. For what? I don't know, but that's how I feel. If I were to ask you what the overall feeling here is of the music, is it staccato, disjointed, or legato, smooth? I think we'd all agree that it's the first one, staccato. And we'd be right in saying that in everyone except for Avi. Avi is sustaining each note and he's louder, and having a loud sustained sound acting as the foundation for these light disjointed voices above is quite unsettling. Then number 3, the chords. Cue Sir Hairless from the future in a second just to show you what we're hearing on the piano. And when you listen to that, notice that Avi has the same note. The chords above him are moving, but in an unconventional way as well. This is bound to cause dissonances and clashes between notes at some point if one note is just always the same. So this is what we're hearing. Because Avi's sustaining his notes and we're not just hearing like, naturally we combine all the notes into one chord in our head. So if we combine them all together at the same time, this is what each chord sounds like. So the first chord, C sharp minor, pretty standard. Next chord, this one's a bit more interesting, and if we move Avi's part up the octave to be closer to the other parts, nice little dissonance there. And then the chord after that. So all of the top 3 voices have just moved up a semitone from 2. And then if we move Avi's part up the octave again, we get that. A nice G diminished chord, probably quite recognisable. And then the final chord, so we go from that down to this. And if we move Avi's part up the octave, we get this. But then Avi does quickly resolve by jumping down. He goes. So what happens when we get that resolution down? What chord do we get then? Well, we go from 2, which isn't much better in terms of dissonance, because if we move it up the octave, and now we've got 3 notes in a row clashing there, and then back. So the only real standard chord that we have is the first one. So in those 4 chords, they each get progressively dissonant, which increases tension until the 4-chord cycle completes by returning back to the first chord, which is just a standard C sharp minor chord. It's like a miniature emotional roller coaster. Right, then this next section. That in itself is a fine example of how this overall, I think, is a work of art. The attention to detail and the precision with which they change their vowel sounds and the consonants coming at the exact same places. Because the notes come in such quick succession, they have to be extremely precise. Even crescendoing through the da-da-das, da-da-dum, da-da-dum, and then pulling off all together. Then we have the next bit. I want you to listen to Avi's part here. After his dub-dub-dum, he goes like this. So the bottom note that he arrives at, the D sharp down there, that's the lowest note we've heard so far. At the same time, we have the highest note we've heard so far, which comes in Kirsty, at the top E. To exaggerate this high and low, there are 2 things. First is the clash between the 2 notes, Avi's note and Kirsty's. If you move Avi's next to Kirsty's, they're as close to each other as they can be on a keyboard. That's a pretty big clash. Second thing, everyone, except for Avi, is high up in their registers. So we have Kirsty, Mitch, Scott. The arrangement's opened up. It's at its widest point in terms of ranges. And in addition, Scott's not using his full chest voice. So it's a further removal of the other parts from Avi as he's on his lowest note. At a base level, the music is Tchaikovsky. But it's Pentatonix who choose how to treat the music and exaggerate certain parts of it through their arrangement. Right, then we have this bit, which I love. The offbeats must be so satisfying to sing. I think Kirsty has the most important part here though, because she's the most easily heard, which often happens when you have the highest part. She manages to create a percussive dum sound whilst also rounding off the M's really well in such a short amount of time. Also, Avi's part is integral. He's providing notes on the beat and everyone else is off the beat. Also, as I just played it back and sung, I just noticed as well that Kevin's part is actually providing further syncopation. He's kind of in between. It's these little details that really enhance the arrangement. Now this next part, I feel like it's building towards something, but what? We've gradually gone up in pitch across the board. We've gradually got louder across the board. Also, the accented bums come on the last beat of each bar. So it's 1, 2, 3, boom. 1, 2, 3, boom. Whereas traditionally, you'd probably expect it to be boom, 2, 3, 4. boom, 2, 3, 4. Again, it just throws us off just a tiny bit. Then just after that bit, we suddenly get quiet again. And we've moved down in pitch. Is there more? Are we building up to something again? Of course, it's a merry Mitch slap. And then that immediately comes into another section that sounds more modernized, upbeat. This is the first time in the song where we hear a bass drum pedal sound. And the stresses are all over the shop. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just as a quick side note, it's interesting how this is the dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy. What is a Sugar Plum Fairy? Who knows? But it sounds elegant, beautiful, serene almost. From what we've seen so far in the music, it's almost as if the sole aim is to keep us a bit unsettled, on our toes, not knowing what to expect next. Then in that section, I thought it was quite a strange vowel sound here. Da, da, da. The next part, listen to Avi. Again, he has a chromatic descending bass, so he's going down in the smallest steps you can. Dum, 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 dum. Always catchy when that's implemented. It's Scott though who I feel has a very underappreciated part here. You can barely hear his part, but rhythmically it's so important. His entries. Bum, 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 bum. He's coming in immediately after Avi just to add a bit of like rhythmic oomph. Then we finally kind of feel at ease for the first time. The beats are clear, it's harmonically stable, we've got Mitch and Kirsty singing in thirds. But it's short-lived. Things start to get crazy again straight afterwards. Most notably, where Avi previously had that dum 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 sustained note chromatic descending bass, now it's staccato, disjointed, and he's jumping all over the place. Which quite heavily contrasts the ahs that are going on now above. And that section leads into this section. Which is quite obviously unlike anything that we've seen so far in this performance. It's relatively calmer, the upper parts have nice sustained chords. The harmony here as well, this is not Tchaikovsky, it's modern, it's Pentatonix. And then just after that, I don't know why, but Scott just makes me laugh here. He looks so focused, but that's a good thing because him and Mitch are just so tight on the And this section, it's now their own. It's their own twist on a really popular classical traditional piece of music. If I just played you that section without any wider context, there's no way anyone would say that that is the dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy, which then makes the ending even more gripping. It's like we've had this journey through time from Tchaikovsky in the late 19th century all the way through to Pentatonix there with their own bit at the end in the 21st century and then right back. Yeah, a huge fan of that. I think there's just so much to talk about. I'm going to be listening to this many, many, many more times, that's for sure. Let's leave it there. That concludes my Pentatonix Christmas songs for the year. As always, thank you very much for watching. Would appreciate a like, subscribe, and I will see you next time.